Okay, it's definitely time to think about stockpiling. Now, the reason I say this is we've gotten, I want to mention 3 warnings that we received. One from a financial billionaire who's looking at the markets and says we're in the last stages of a collapse. And again, you can believe it or not. I'm just telling you his words. He's a billionaire. I think he has some clout there. Number 2, there's a country that's dealing with the understanding of war. We see NATO was hit last night with Turkey. So are we seeing escalation in this war? This country also stated stockpile at least a week because we're that close. And then thirdly, we're going to talk about what Elon Musk said about how there's no way that AGI and AI will not take over thousands upon thousands of jobs, and there's no point in saving retirement. Now, he's pushing as a good thing because he believes he will be over it and will be safe and effective. But what he also says, he says, for it to grow like it's going, it will grow so quick that we will not be able to stop it from taking jobs, from doing these kind of things. So we're very close to utopian versus dystopian. He actually says, sadly, we may have to look at a universal basic income. It's weird how this week Kraken, which is a crypto provider, joined in the ranks of our government. We're going to discuss all this because it deals with your money, deals with your safety, it deals with everything that is precious to you and also your freedom. Now, today, we're going to talk about 5 things I purchased this week. I literally bought this week because I believe we need to see these warnings, heed these warnings, and make sure we're ready. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here. Now, we talk stockpile. We've talked stockpile for years, but I do believe that we are seeing time running out in a lot of different facets. We've talked about the dangers of what's going on with the wars and how that's escalating. Turkey was actually shot at last night by Iran. Now, this is a big deal because Iran now is in a desperation mode. It's, I had a rabid fox one time in one of my farm buildings, and the fox was fine until it got cornered, and then it started foaming at the mouth. I mean, just hissing, growling, because it was backed into a corner, and it was willing to do whatever it had to do for safety. I feel like we're seeing Iran do the same thing. We have taken out every leader that's getting into the chain of command with these with this RGC. We're also seeing these ayatollahs. Literally they become the ayatollah for like an hour and then they die. But now you're starting to see them backed into a corner where they're just releasing rockets. UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan. We're actually seeing them go now into Turkey. Why is this a big deal in Turkey? Because now you're seeing where Cyprus and Turkey are getting hit. That's NATO allies that has NATO bases that were not even in this war. So Turkey now is involved, wasn't wanting to be involved. Cyprus, one of the British headquarters, almost got hit, one of their military bases. France is, they're trying to play like they're the big guy here, but they're starting to get closer to figuring out what they're going to do as part of this war. So we're seeing the escalations there. Now I want to read this. Sweden, their central bank just said that all adults should hold at least a week's worth of cash at home so they can buy the food, the medicine, and other essentials in case this war and other crises hit. We're seeing signs of growth and escalation. Now, we're talking about countries that were not involved that are now telling their people, you may want to get ready. Now, I want to go to a few more details, and then we're going to go to the 5. There's a viral video going out of a Sudanese Islamic leader who is based in America, again from Sudan, stating that he is openly supporting Iran and wants to hurt the U.S. Now, we see this in a Texas imam said that, a New Orleans imam said that, some Miami imam said this. We also saw this in New York. We've seen this in other cities. So the risk is real here on our shores. I don't believe, like Iran came out yesterday and stated that this 3rd wave is going to be dangerous. I don't think Iran's got anything else left in the tank that's actually going to be something that America can't handle or that other countries can't handle, honestly. I mean, there's a few that are definitely going through. I'm not saying that, but I do believe this. There's 2 things to pay attention to on this escalation. Iran can't do it anymore. So China knowingly needs the Hormuz Strait, and then also the oil that they did not get from Venezuela now is stopping in Iran. what is China's role? It actually says that they are pushing to open the strait because they need oil. So what's going to happen with China? So that's one problem. What about the sleeper cells? All these imams that are trying to radicalize the people here in America. We already saw the situation in Austin. We saw, of course, several attacks over the last few years. But are we going to see this activation? Because now you see Hezbollah, Hamas is all telling their people to go all over the world and cause chaos and mischief. So I don't believe Iran can do anything to America or to any of America military bases in huge amounts of danger. I do believe, though, the sleeper cells could be activated. I do believe that China is a powder keg ready to blow up because they need the oil. Now, something else to pay attention to. North Korea kind of put their hand in the other day and they said we want to come to the rescue of Iran. Now, North Korea, I think, sometimes just wants to get into the battle because they feel like they're always left out and they want to be evil. He wants to be a sinister Dr. Evil kind of thing. And sometimes it's just kind of like it's kind of parody to me because it's like, dude, please, just sit down. But at the same time, because of his bombasticness and because he's always wanting to be, quote unquote, the evil one and a major player on the world stage, don't be surprised if he does something crazy. So I think that when you think about what Sweden says, the escalation, when you think about the fact that Iran is like a fox backed into a corner, and then you think about the risk of these sleeper cells, the thing we need to think about also is Elon Musk's warning. He said by 2026, AGI will be huge. Millions of robots will be made, and it will take jobs. Now, he's pushing as, well, you don't need to do anything but just wait because it's going to be okay. Utopia is coming. But he did state, and he actually said this to Glenn Beck, and Glenn Beck actually pushed back and actually got scared. He said, we do believe that UBI will be a big part of this system. UBI is just a socialist, communist version of government. It allows for people to know that they can't make it without government's intervention in their life. So where Elon says utopian, it's really more dystopian. So all that being said, let's go into my list of what things I bought this week and why I bought them this week. Now, before we go any further and before we talk about that list, a word from today's sponsor, Chapter. Chapter has been with me for about 18 months. I didn't see the value in them until my parents turned 65. And man, were they hit up with a lot of mail, were they hit up with a lot of agents, and they really didn't know which way was up. Well, government's intervention in Medicare, I mean, it's already hard to understand. It's complicated. But all these plans, am I on the right plan? Are they on the right plan? Are we making sure that they're getting the best bang for their buck? So if you're 65 and older, or about to be, or you're like my parents and just have questions, or if you're like me that's trying to help your parents, call this number below. Chapter comes alongside you and they advise you. They look at the plans all across America to make sure that you're on the right plan. The average American that uses Chapter saves $1,100 a year, and their service is free. I'm telling you, there is no catches, there is no sign-up fees, there is nothing. It's a 15-minute phone call, 20-minute phone call, and saves you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. If you're on the right plan, they're going to tell you. They're going to say, hey, look, you've got the best plan possible. So at least it's going to give you a peace of mind. But for the majority of Americans, they save hundreds of dollars, if not thousands. And if you're 65, you're on a fixed budget and fixed income, why don't you take advantage of this opportunity? Check with Chapter today. Call the number below. All they're going to do is ask you questions, check your coverage, tell you you're on the right plan, or tell you how to save money. It's $0 and it costs you absolutely nothing but 15 minutes. Check with Chapter today. Now, what Sweden said, stockpile cash, at least a week. Here's what my push is for you. Money. You do need to stockpile money. Stockpile at least 7 days of cash. Now, this is just for the necessities if anything happens. I mean, we talk about grid failures, we talk about cyber attacks, we talk about all these things. The other day I went in Walmart. A simple windstorm knocked a pine tree on the line that ran the substation to Walmart. So the generators worked. It had a little light, but no cashier could even run a card. People who had any kind of, a card or digitized currency or using their phone to pay did not work. Only cash recipients. So make sure you have some cash. Part of having cash is not only giving you that safety and that freedom, it allows you to know that no matter what happens with the lockdowns of phones, technical things, or in a world of chaos, of storms, of crazy weather. I mean, you know, we're having like, you know, days of blood moons. We're having earthquakes. We're having all this craziness, these storms. It's good to have some cash. So I have way more than just a week, but I make sure I stockpile cash. Now, part of this too is stockpiling gold and silver. So number one is money and wealth in general. So there's two forms of what I say: cash, money, or wealth. Wealth means you have value in something that's legacy. Gold and silver would be that. What you saw this week with Iran, what you saw a few weeks ago with Venezuela, what you saw this last year with Russia, what you've seen with all these other places like Sri Lanka, these currencies fall to pieces. Zimbabwe falls to pieces because government. So yes, stockpile some cash, but realize you have to have wealth. If you have saved up and all of a sudden you have thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a retirement, and all of a sudden the currency goes down to zero, what are you to do? You know what currency has not went to zero? You know what wealth has not went to zero? Gold and silver. So, I mean, go below. There's a link to Augustus, the gold and silver. They'll help you understand how to make sure that you can put some money up in gold and silver. You can buy tangible gold and silver. You can put move some of your money from the IRA in there. I want to have a security net. And I look, I know most people say 10 to 15%. I'm probably 20 to 30%. That's just me. I'm not a broker. Don't take my advice. But I want to make sure that I have something that has value no matter what the dollar does. So number one would be stockpiling cash, but also wealth. There's a difference. Money is the mode of exchange. Wealth is what you give your children or what you've worked hard for, that it doesn't lose value, and gold and silver is that. Now, number two, defense. I purchased 2 new defense this week. I bought a new EDC, everyday carry, if you get what I'm saying. It is a 9. I bought the brass for it in cases from a provider, paid cash for them. It's good to know that I can buy it from a provider and pay cash for it. I also bought a long version of 1.2, a carbine that's a little bit bigger, and it has a semi-auto feature to it. So I want to make sure that I can defend what we have. What we've seen in this world: Australia took your rights away, Canada has taken your rights away, Britain has taken your rights away, and of course the Middle East is now having, America is trying to import self-defense tools, if you get what I'm saying, to the Kurds to help trying to, basically establish a new government. So when the countries start taking away your rights to bear arms, you lose all freedom. So number two, I bought 2A. I literally bought 2 of these this week. Also stockpiled a lot of what goes in them as projectiles because I want to defend what I have and what I've worked hard. Now, number 3, it's going to be seed. Now, I literally love seeds. I grow my own seeds. We're growing food all the time. Year round, we grow food in greenhouses, in ground, in hugelkultur beds, in gardens. But number 3 is seeds. You cannot go without seeds. Now, if you want to go to Walmart or Home Depot or any of those places to buy seeds, fine, no big deal. I personally buy them from Survival Garden Seeds. Here's why. When you buy from some companies, you need to make sure they're non-GMO or heirloom or organic seeds. Not only that, the thing I like about Survival Garden Seeds is they sell them in kits, in vaults, in heirloom bags, in herbal bags, in mixed garden bags. What they do is try to help you if you don't understand seeds. So if you're trying to grow summer garden, they have a summer garden kit. If you're trying to grow herbal medicines, they have a herbal medicine kit. If you're trying to grow just enough for you and your family, it shows the ones that do the best in that capability. If you're looking for stockpiling and putting up for safety, they sell seed vaults that has hundreds of different seeds in there. The benefit also, if you look on every back of the pack, it tells you how to harvest those seeds and keep them going. The part of life that is huge is sustainability. Growing food from seeds is wonderful. Learning how to save the seed to grow next year is a game changer. And that's why I like Survival Garden Seeds, because it shows you how to do that. Number 3, buy a seed vault this week. Buy something that will help you understand how to put up food. It's very important. Number four, you need to purchase meds. Now, I'm somebody who is fully against taking over-the-counter or antibiotics or any kind of pharmaceuticals if I don't have to. I don't want to just say I'm going to do this just to have it and take it as a proactive thing. No, it's a reaction. I buy kits, emergency medical kits. I mean, there's a wellness kit, there's a J's kit. I mean, whoever you're buying from, there's links to both of them below. You don't have to buy from them. You can buy from Duration Health. You can buy from anybody. There's one called In Case. The purpose of this is I can have the I word that's so hard to get, if you know what I'm saying. EpiPens, type 1 diabetic, my son, I bought extra stockpiles of that. Things like the over-the-counter antibiotics that sometimes you can't get. Listen, prime example. During the snowstorm, Tennessee and North Mississippi had no access to doctors or pharmaceuticals. Not only that, what they're saying in some of these countries that are being hit and bombarded, they're shutting down ways to get medicine and go into groceries. So think about that for a second now. If you're not having access to get your meds, what are you going to do? When we went to Walmart during the last little snowstorm that we were getting, ice storm, they don't have snowstorms, ice storm, there's a line from, if you've ever been in Walmart, any Walmart you go into, they're set about the same way. So you have the pharmacy always on the front of the store. That line was going from the pharmaceutical, going in an L shape like they were riding a roller coaster ride, and going all the way back out to the front doors because everybody was trying to get what they needed before the snowstorm comes in. Don't be like that. Go ahead and have some things stockpiled. It's worth $100, $200, $300, whatever you're purchasing. Have it stockpiled for safety. You know, my son, I've told you before, type 1 diabetic, hit us with like a ton of bricks this year. So I made aggressive efforts to stockpile meds. Number 5, probably one of the biggest ones that I want you to really focus on. The beef industry in America is at a 75-year high in price for the range of market. Not only that, they're in a 75-year low on the herd, meaning it's not going to get any cheaper. Here's one thing you could do. Number 5 is stockpiling meat. A few things. We learned how to can meat, so we can a lot of meat. So we'll buy a lot of meat. Of course, we don't need to buy a lot here on our farm. We raise a lot of our own meat. But for instance, this week I processed a steer and a hog. I didn't really want to do that, but we were getting a little low in our freezers, and I said, well, let's go ahead and take advantage of that. I'm going to do a lamb and another steer next week. I'm going to do 3 more hogs in about 3 weeks. So the purpose is I'm putting up that food. Now, how am I putting up that food? Yes, I'm freezing some. Yes, I'm dehydrating some, like beef jerkies, and making summer sausages. Yes, I'm canning some. I'm learning how to be redundant in how I put my meat up, because meat is becoming a commodity that has got value upon value upon value. Protein, basic nutrients and minerals, along with all the fat sources. You need meat in your diet. One thing that I've learned is I've learned to make sure that I'm putting up meat. Now, here's some things. Beef is getting almost too expensive. Learn how to use other meats. Learn how to use ground chicken. It's a little bit cheaper. Learn how to use ground pork. Because we're a family of 8 and really 9 because of Annabelle, Aiden's fiance, that we're building a home for on our property. What we've learned is we've supplemented our own hogs. We grind them up without sausage or without seasoning, and we mix that with our beef. It makes our beef go longer. Also, lambs another way, goat another way, that you can have a red meat source that's cheaper than cow sometimes, or beef. I know you think that's crazy to talk about, but we're in that stage where words are coming out that the cattle industry will keep on climbing and no one will be able to own it but the top elite because of the price. I went to Walmart the other day. Walmart, the cheapest place you can probably buy meat, and I kid you not, we raise our own food, but I went over to a simple ribeye and a simple sirloin and a simple filet mignon. 3 cuts of meat. The sirloin was $18.97 per pound. The ribeye was $22 per pound, and the filet mignon was $25 per pound. That was at Walmart. Average Americans can't pay that. The average ground meat was around $6 a pound. Be conscientious of this. Stockpile meat. Learn to work together. Here's a great way to do it. Go in halves with someone and buy a steer at the butcher. Go in halves and go to a farmer and say, look, what would you sell one for? I know if you don't have land, you can't, but if you can grow some kind of animal, sheep are great and easy ways to grow. That's one thing that we grow, and I actually love being able to do that. During hunting season, hunt. You need to stockpile meats. This is a big deal, and if people don't start doing it, the elites are already taking away meat, and then the only meat you're going to be able to get is carcinogenic meat grown in petri dishes. So these are the 5 things that I worked on this week. Honest truth. I bought more meds this week. I harvested meat this week. I stockpiled more cash and gold and silver this week. I did that this week. And then, of course, I did what I needed to do to defend it. I bought things that would protect my family. These are key. It's not to scare you, but Trump coming out saying we may have a few more weeks. Sweden telling you to stockpile cash. Elon Musk saying that jobs are going to be leaving, so get out of debt, stockpile cash. Come on, guys. Focus on what's going on. And the reality is, we can put our proverbial head in the sand, but things are not getting a lot better in some facets. You know, we're still allowing for mosques to be built all over America. We're still allowing for rhinos to win out. I mean, Cornyn didn't lose last night to Ken Paxton. So a man that's been in Congress for longer than most of us have been alive still is going to probably be in Congress. Gonzalez, who had a major hiccup in his marital situation, and also this girl took her own life in Texas, he's in a runoff. He should have easily lost that. Tallarico, who the Democratic senator nominee for Texas, has come and said that he wants an open border policy and make the border like a front porch where you come and sit and talk. And he talks about how he has some very weird, very evil beliefs on God. And he won handily yesterday. Things are not so good all the time. Things are a little strange still. We need to make sure that we're stockpiling and getting ready. When all of a sudden they tell you this, it's a big deal. Now, you know, I told you the very first, the billionaire that was warning about the dangers of the collapse of money. This is why he was moving money in gold and silver from his IRAs and his accounts, same way I'm telling you to do it with Augusta. Ray Dalio came out and said, you know, we're in stages, and every empire has stages. And he said, we're in one of the final stages of America because we cannot stay at this trajectory of the debt that we're having, the money we're spending, the wars that we're in. We are not sustainable. He was moving money not in crypto, in gold and silver. He was telling people to be smart. Let's be smart. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Pay attention to what people like Elon and Ray Dalio says. They're billionaires for a purpose. But also, think with your own mind to say, common sense, I need to take care of my family. The way to do that is to stop all these things. God bless. Be free.